and welcome to the African Community Forum. My name is Kenge Maliki Dogo Flood, and I'll be your host for today. On today's show, we'll talk about the upcoming New Americans Expo, which will take place October 4th, and we will also stop by the 13th Annual Fest Africa celebration hosted by the Afropolitan Youth Association, Incorporated. Sitting in the studio with me today is Cristina Frey. She is one of the organizers for the New Americans Expo, and she's here to chat with us about the event. Welcome to the show, Cristina.
Thank you, Kenge. Thank you for having me today here.
Well, please tell us, what is the New American Expo?
The New American Expo is the New Americans Expo is a community fair for all immigrants new to the country. It's a celebration that we all are here with all this energy and with all this, innovation that we bring to the country. We are going to have a lot of organizations coming to showcase their services and their products to the new Americans. And who are the new Americans? It's all of us, people who were born outside the U.S. and are living now in the U.S. as immigrants, and our children, our families. It doesn't matter if you have documents or you don't have documents, if you are on the way to get a citizenship or a legal status in the country. So we're going to have not only nonprofits and government agencies showcasing their services, but we're going to have local businesses also showing and telling us what is it that they have to offer us from their businesses. We also are going to have something very important, a forum for people and leaders to come and expose the issues and the problems that we have in our communities. We have very similar problems, Latinos, Africans, people from Asia, from the Middle East. We all came to this country leaving everything behind, our culture, our language, our food, everything. And we came to this country to learn everything from zero. A new culture, we'll have to learn English, we'll have to find a job, we have to understand the legal system because it's very complicated. And you don't want to make a mistake because here, it is enforced. You can get a fine or you can be arrested for making a mistake if you don't understand the law.
You make a very good point. So go a little bit more into why it's important for new Americans to be informed about the resources in some of these organizations. So why would a new American come and what information do they need?
Well, it's about learning how to live in this new system. It's about learning about the health system because we need insurance. If we don't have insurance, we get a fine. We need to learn about the legal system, how it works, because you can get in trouble if you don't know how it works. In our countries, most of the times, the law is not enforced, but here it is enforced.
Yes, it is.
And I have friends who have been arrested just because they forgot to pay a speeding ticket.
Oh, wow.
As simple as that. And you put in risk your residency. And you don't want that. So we're going to have information about the banking system too. We get a credit card very easy here, and then in 1 year or two, your credit record is gone. So we have to be careful with that. We have to know, we have to learn how to use all these opportunities that we have in this country. This country is wonderful. We find a lot of opportunities and a lot of resources. We just have to know how to find them and how to use them wisely.
So what are some of the organizations that will be presenting some of this information at the Expo?
We're going to have a lot of organizations. We have listed around 35 different organizations, government agencies and nonprofits. We're going to have the health department telling us how the health system works. We're going to have the recreational department to tell us what programs are there for elders, for children, for moms. to keep us healthy and active. We're going to have the police department too. They're going to come and tell us about the protection programs that they have for women, for children, for workers. We're going to have Identity is a nonprofit who's going to tell us about the children who are escaping from violence and coming to live to this country alone, usually. And we're going to have also many more. The Montgomery County Public Schools, they're going to come and talk about how the school system works, because we need to help our kids to thrive and to learn and to narrow the gap, the educational gap they always talk about.
We've listed a lot of organizations, county organizations as well as the name of a nonprofit. If other organizations wanted to get involved or wanted to showcase at the expo, how can they do that?
Well, you know, the expo is such a wonderful project because the objective is that nonprofits and government agencies get a booth, a table at the expo for free. So if you have a nonprofit working with immigrants, just contact us. Go to www.newamericansexpo.com or call my phone number is 301-787-9424, or send me an email, cristina.frey@newamericansexpo.com, and you're going to get a free booth to showcase your work in the community. Also, I would like to say that this is a celebration. This is a celebration because you are here, because all the migrants are here, and we're going to have music, we're going to have dances, we are going to have a kids corner for them to have fun. So it's a family fair. It's a family celebration. We want everybody coming and feeling comfortable. You're going to find people like you who are missing home, but they are in a new land, and we're all working very hard to make you feel comfortable.
And how will tickets or availability for individuals that want to attend and not necessarily have a booth?
Well, the expo is free. I mean, anybody can come, and there is no charge. Is free entrance. And we're going to have snacks and some drinks. We're going to have some celebrities, hopefully. I'm working very hard to bring interesting people. We want to bring some soccer players and people who is important in our community. We're going to have the executive, Ike Leggett. He's going to be with us, and a lot of leaders of our community.
That is really great to hear. I want to thank you for joining us. It's really important to hear this, and I'm very happy and excited to be attending the New American Expo.
Well, don't miss it. You have to be there.
So the New American Expo takes place on October 4th at the Silver Spring Civic Building in downtown Silver Spring. When we come back, we'll talk about the stereotypes and issues Africans face when they arrive in America. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Checking your fantasy league?
Nah, just my 401k statement.
Nice. Where'd you find the money for that?
I just been saving a little every month.
I can't seem to save anything.
Well, what about all this? What about the money you're spending?
What money? It's gone before I can get my hands on it.
I got a pizza for a Todd.
Hey, can somebody spot me?
When it comes to financial stability, don't get left behind.
It's 547.
Get tools and tips for saving at feedthepig.org.
Welcome back. We all have heard certain stereotypes that stick with specific continents. Today, we'll explore some of the stereotypes of the African continent and explore how much truth they hold, if any. Sitting in the studio with me today is Soffie Ceesay and Christelle Luyeye. Thank you so much for joining us today. Now, Soffie and Christelle, I'm just gonna let you know some of the stereotypes, and you please let me know, is there any truth to that? Some of those are, all African people live in the village or a jungle.
Well, thank you, firstly, for having me here. It is indeed a pleasure. And to the stereotype, I smiled because I remember in the 1980s when I was working for a nonprofit in DC, one of the first questions I was asked was whether we lived in houses. That was years ago, whether we had a house. And my first response was, of course not. I live on a tree. But then I went ahead to share with this gentleman that the only tree that I have, I would have to go to a park to find, or it would be the coconut tree maybe inside our compound, or some of a fruit tree. And we indeed lived in houses. So those stereotypes, I think, are usually mouthed by folks who think in a unidirectional pattern, who do not want to veer far away from what they're comfortable with. So to that stereotype, I said, doesn't hold true for me or many Africans. I have to say, though, we do live in villages. Some of us live in villages, but living in a village doesn't translate into living in a house or living just with animals or living with wildlife, things of that nature. I don't know what Christelle's experience is.
Few years ago, I was asked the same question, and my answer was, as Miss Soffie just said, yes, we live in the jungle and we live in the village, because even here there are some people who live in the village, some people who live in the jungle. So that stereotype of African people living in the jungle in the village, it's not only in Africa. Even here in the U.S., people live in the jungle and they live in the village. There's villages everywhere in the world. You can go to Europe, there's a village in Europe, there's a village in Africa, there's a village in America, you know? So for that say, living in the jungle, no, we don't live in the jungle.
We do not live
We do not live in the jungle.
There are jungles in Africa, but that doesn't mean all of Africa lives in those jungles. So thank you. So that stereotype is incorrect for those of you who are still wondering. Now, what about the stereotype that Africa is a land filled with disease? Again,
To those who only think of Africa as a country, and those who have nothing positive, only derogatory things to say about Africa. Yes, we do have our challenges in terms of disease, but what other part of the world is not dealing with one calamity or another? And I reject that entirely. It is an untrue statement. We thrive, we enjoy life, we work. Africa is one of the fastest growing economies of this world, and a continent or rife with disease or just with the many diseases that the stereotypes speak to wouldn't be looked at and considered one of the fastest growing economies in the world.
And part of the reason it is one of the fastest growing economies is because there is great interest from all other continents, Europe, Asia, Africa. So there's other individuals actually going into the continent, so obviously the disease.
And if anything, you hear a lot about China going into Africa. Why? Natural minerals, natural resources. And it's not only China. India is interested in Africa. Even the United States has now kind of focused interest on what can we do in Africa. And it's not one directional.
Correct.
It is, it's bilateral.
Christelle, what is your response to that?
I don't think that's true. First, we are open to everybody, meaning people can have disease in Africa, in Europe, America, or China. So that means when they come to Africa, that means they bring it to Africa. So, but that doesn't mean Africa is a land of disease. Although we do have our challenges, but Africa is not a land of disease.
So basically, illnesses can be transmitted from person to person in different manners. So the diseases that we're focusing on, depending on what it is, you can actually learn, individuals could learn more about them, whether it's malaria or the flu. I mean, in the United States, the flu is huge. But if you learn more about your biology and what these illnesses are, you'll have a better understanding. So Africa is not a land full of disease. It is a land full of individuals that may have illnesses.
And promise. A land filled with promise.
That's true.
Okay, let's keep it moving here. So all Africans look the same. Do you think we three look the same? Are we triplets?
No. We think like that too. that's why when you see an Asian person, you'll be like, oh, they look alike, but actually they don't look alike.
Correct.
We think they look alike, but they don't look alike. If you see a Caucasian person, you'll be like, oh, they look alike. Just like if I see someone from my country, I'll be like, oh, that one is from this country, or that one came from America. But actually, we think they look alike, but they don't look alike. If you on the other side, you might think they look alike. I don't think we look alike, but I've had people who came up to me and say, you're from this country. And I say, yes, how do you know? Oh, because you all look alike. When you're from the other side, you think that we do look alike. Oh. But I'll see someone from my country, I won't even know that they're from my country. It's normal to think African people look alike, although we don't. Just like we think Chinese people look alike. Just an example. But actually they don't.
Yeah.
Sophie?
Yeah, you will not find people who look alike in any one race. They may look similar,
Correct.
but we are not alike. I think it's a lazy person that doesn't want to really get to distinguish the features of the individuals that they're dealing with.
Exactly.
To really want to be able to say, that is so and so. Yeah, we may look similar because I've been approached that, oh, you look like such and such. Yeah, but just don't generalize. That's kind of dangerous. And I think that perhaps has lent itself in the United States to the criminal justice system, where an African-American male is apprehended because somebody thinks it's an 5'10" African-American male had come across, and we think that's the person that stole such and such or did such and such. And you apprehend somebody that fits that description, even though they look nothing like perhaps the person that committed the crime. So it's dangerous, and it's untrue.
Untrue. You heard it first here. It is untrue. All people from the African continent do not look alike. Let's go ahead and jump into that. People from Africa can hunt. I believe this kind of goes into the village in the jungle. Can all people from Africa hunt?
I don't know how to hunt.
Oh, okay.
Neither
So
do
we
I.
don't.
Neither do
So we
I. Do
don't.
you, Kenge?
I do not know how to hunt. I watch Duck Dynasty, but I do not know how to hunt. No. Now this is, the next one is something that is also going to be, I think, quite humorous. Africans are always late.
That's true.
How true does this ring, and why do you think? Christelle?
Why do I think Africans are always late? That I would say that because I'm one of. Why? Because we don't want to be the first one to arrive. So for that say, you always think, if I go there, I'll be the first one. So I won't go. I'll wait till people show up.
I think it depends on the occasion. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think if it's a party or like a grand party, you wouldn't want to be the first one. That's
Okay.
usually the mentality. That's perhaps Crystal. I will get there on time, or try to be there on time and do my 2 hours and leave.
Oh.
Have to, however, yes. If it's an interview, you better believe the African's going to be on time. If it's a doctor's appointment, they're going to be on time. If it's something very important, there's what they call black people's time. Mm-hmm. That's a play on how late we get to certain functions. But I think it's to functions, not necessarily important meetings, important appointments, but to getting to a party and being the only one sitting there, because most of the others will be getting there late. Oh. Yeah.
I mean,
so
churches
maybe
too.
there's some truth to it, but it is a generalization that perhaps is more appropriate for certain functions.
Well, I thank you both so much. Sophie, Christelle, thank you so much for joining us. This is definitely some interesting conversation. Sophie Ceesay will be part of the forum discussion during the New Americans Expo that will cover not just African stereotypes, but the stereotypes New Americans face when they come to America. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
I love my sister.
My heart doesn't see race. Love is love.
Welcome back. The 13th annual Fest Africa celebration took place on August 8th and 9th in Silver Spring, Maryland. We'll close off with a recap of the event.
A is for Africa. A is for Africa. A is for Africa.
We're here at Fest Africa 2015. Come with me, let's go check out some of the food, vendors, and the music.
To Africa. If you know you're proud to be linked to Africa, let me see your hands go. It's proud to be linked to Africa.
Welcome to Fest Africa.
Wait. I'm proud to be linked to Africa. If you got an African friend, you can sing it too.
Fest Africa is a celebration of African culture and heritage. It's a time when we come together to show the state of Maryland and all residents and all visitors about African culture, just a taste of the continent. So we try to cover every one of African heritage, so that includes in the continent, outside the continent, Caribbean, everywhere. Anyone that has a touch, a little pinch or anything of African in them, we try and feature. So the Afropolitan Youth Association is a 501c3 non-profit organization that was set up really to offer community service to the state of Maryland that we live in, which is here. And so we support other non-profits. When we do fundraisers for them, we volunteer, and then we also, this really is a major event we put together to offer as a community service to the state of Maryland. And we figure this is our service to bring people together, unite people, support the vendors, bring economic progress to the area. And so it's really a group set up to really try and bring Africans together, young professionals. We also try and really offer community service to the state of Maryland.
I came to the festival because I'm African and I live.
Where are you from?
I am from Kenya, and I came here just to support. Some of my friends are in the planning committee, so I've known about the festival for a couple of years. And I've always had something going on at this time of the year. So this year I was like, I'm home, so I have to come to the festival.
Well, thank you. Go ahead.
And of course, the music, the food, and also all the things that you can buy. So it's, just supporting and also, coming, for the African pride.
I've heard some good music. I've seen some good dancing. I've seen lots of vendors selling lots of great stuff. It's a good crowd today, so it looks like a fantastic event.
How are you, Portia?
I'm good.
What brings you here to Fest Africa today?
Actually, what brought me here is I'm actually a part of a group, and they basically advertise this festival online. And so I decided to come down here. I've been living in DC now for about 2 months, just moved out here. So I figured why not come down here and just have a little bit of fun on a Sunday, right after church.
Well, how do you feel about being able to have such an event in Silver Spring?
It's very diverse. I like it. To me, I feel like you're just opening up the doors of different ethnic groups and nationalities. I think it's a good thing.
So far today, what is your favorite entertainment, favorite thing?
Well, I like to dance, and one of my favorite types of dancing is African dancing. And I'm very sociable, and I'm not shy at all. As you can see, as when you guys started, I was already dancing. So basically, I like to dance.
My music has a background of traditional sounds from my homeland, but then it has crossed over to a lot of social work. So I do a lot of work for women and children back home, and trying to transform the country politically, socially. So a lot of the songs that we write talk about the social justice and the empowerment and youth, but a lot of traditional elements to it.
Hi, Deborah.
Hello, hello, how you doing?
Is this your first Fest Africa?
This indeed is my first Fest Africa. So excited to be here, so much good energy out here. Excited.
Now, what will you be performing today?
I'll be performing a lot of my original tunes. I am an actual soul, funk, jazz artist, and I've got a couple albums out, so I'm going to be performing mostly original tunes.
Listen, the energy here is like none other. The energy you get to at Fest Africa, you don't get it anywhere else. It's the right energy, the great energy, it's the best energy.